a perfect example of that, and one that Jared and I shared a lot of experience on, was that picture right over your and Corey's shoulder.
Yeah.
Ian, see if you could pull that up. It's one of the pictures I think I sent you guys, and this is a deer that it was 2018. I killed this deer on the mountain, and was just a monster body. This deer was ancient.
Dude, why don't you, Ian? I don't know if you can get up from the table. That skull's sitting right over here on the top. You want to grab that?
Yeah.
I guess watch your headphones. It's sitting on top of Jeremy's bookshelf.
Freaking horse.
Watch those tripods too. Not that one. The bookshelf on the backside of that wall there. This is one of the biggest skulls I've ever seen.
Well, you had killed a deer that year on Ohio farm, 3 or 4 year old maybe. Remember, because we compared the skulls and it was just like,
oh yeah, it was a Spaniard.
There it is.
It was a Spaniard.
This freaking thing.
Wow.
I mean, that's like,
It's a mess.
that's insane. There's a monster. Just that deer was a toad.
Huge. That's an old deer.
Yes. And so, this deer essentially, I'd seen him the year before, and he decreased probably, again, not that I'm knocking him, he decreased probably 20 inches in antler size. And we called him like dark chocolate or something, I don't remember. But anyways, I'd not seen this deer the entire year and went in and hunted a different deer, hang and hunt. And this deer comes out of nowhere, rattled and grunted. It was 20-something, 24th, 25th of October.
That's like your first sit that year, I think, right?
It was.
Because you were on a hot streak. I mean, you were like every first sit you were killing.
Man, and I was
bucks.
waiting. I was patient. I was waiting. It was like, hey, as soon as I see these deer in this area and we get a cold front, like we talked about last week, and I know there's a scrape there, I go in, I hang and hunt, and that damn deer shows up.
And you were trying to hunt the same buck you were hunting this year, right?
God,
He's still there. And this guy ended up showing up.
This guy ended up showing up, hitting the scrape, just trashed it. And I recorded it. At some point, I'll get that film back out. But essentially, that deer, and it blows my mind, right? We've all had this happen. That deer was 100, 150 yards when I first saw him working the scrape after I rattled and grunted at him. And I grunted a couple times. I snort wheezed at him. And that deer starts coming in, and it's like, man, I had everything planned. I was self-filming too. Had everything planned. And instead of coming at like 20 yards, that damn thing beelines to the tree. I mean, to the tree, not next to the tree, not the tree over, to my tree. And and
that's one of those things that, like, we've all got things that we're working on, but you have a way of it's more of a good thing than a bad thing, but I picked the tree. The deer is going to come to this tree, and yes. I'm going to be in that tree. And so you've had several opportunities at like straight down angles.
The Kansas buck I killed this year was at
now, right?
2 yards.
Which are tough.
Right under you.
This deer was the same way. And the funny thing was...
There's close, and then there's too close.
Yeah, and this was a case of too close, because what happened was that deer came in, and at first I wasn't sure who he was. Then when I realized, I'm like, holy shit, like this deer's still alive. And so I ended up drawing on him, letting him come by me, and I shot him at like 5 yards. And again... and I'm like perfect shot. I'm like I could feel it. Saw him run off. I just see blood blowing out. He's standing there, and I even get back on him, and I'm like, this deer's gonna fall, right? And then he just kind of takes off, and it's like, money. Because I think I texted you guys, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Buck down. All right, get out of the stand. I mean, there's blood everywhere, like just crazy. So I call the landowner. Landowner comes out.
What broadhead were you shooting?
Tri-pans. Rage tri-pans.
You were still shooting
I was shooting the Matthews. I was shooting Rage tri-pans. And I was shooting victories, but I wasn't shooting weighted victories at that point.
Yeah. We hadn't gotten into that yet.
Yeah. And again, I mean, we're talking a 6-yard shot. I'm shooting 70-pound limbs, 29 3/4 inch arrow. I mean, it's a harpoon coming at them. And we tracked that deer for 200 yards. And
that night?
That night.
You tracked him yourself, I think,
through like thick rhododendron and mountain laurel. I mean, I'm in the mountains. Mm-hmm. Couldn't find him. And it was sick feeling.
What happened? The blood just dried up?
Just dried up, but it also got way too thick. My light died. I'd end up using my phone. So it was like, it was going to be cold, right? So I remember I left my bow in the woods, which later I was just like, man, you just left like $1,000 bow. Just like, and at that point he had gone on public land. Mm-hmm. So I tracked him into public land, and I was like, nah, screw it. I'll just leave it. And so the whole crew, we all went out the next day. And it was like, hey, let's pick up here. So we drove out, and we figured like we're going to walk a little bit further, like that deer's dead. We tracked all damn day.
That was great. because it was like a Monday, I think, Monday or Tuesday, and you're like, yeah, we're not working today, boys. You're like, we're blood trail deer. I was like, okay,
out. Yeah,
round them up. Here we go. We're gonna blood trail all day. Here we go.
And this is like I've always had like an affinity for blood tracking. Like it's just it's part of that hunt that like just is deep.
I wonder if I can find that picture of. I love this picture so much because it's like the progression of the blood trailer. There's like you hot on the trail, and there's like me pretty close behind you, and then you've got Gary kind of like looking, checking, and then Alex is like way in the back, like flicking an arrow against the tree, like just so tired and over it.
And so
see if I can find that.
We follow this deer. We finally get back on blood, come out, actually crosses the trail that we drove the 4-wheeler on.
What year did you shoot this deer?
18. And we're like a mile in at this point. And I lose blood again. And it's like, geez, man, this is ridiculous, right? And I remember a point. You remember the point? Like, I'm walking down a creek in this little valley. You're up on the ridge above me, right? I'm walking down a creek, and I'm finding blood on leaves. That damn deer, this is how smart this deer was. He walked down the middle of the creek, like, trying to throw us off, right? This is like...
He'll never find me.
We're straight Indian tracking at this point, right? Track them into like a pretty decent sized stream. And again, deer walks through the middle of the stream, and I'm just like, like at this point, roaming aimlessly. It's like, Jesus, this is ridiculous. All of a sudden I look at a deer trail, there's blood coming up out of the creek again. And it's like, this is wild. And like, I'm talking like a mile and a half. We're now 2 miles into this thing, and I've been on blood essentially the whole time, right? Maybe lose it a couple times, but have to come back around. And we get up to this brush pile, and at this point, I think we're gonna have to send out a second search party to find Jared, because I don't know where he's at.
He's gone.
He's on his own looking. He's at this point he's hunting a different deer.
Well, we were gridding at that point.
We were,
which also that is something that if no one ever tells you. Hence, in my case, it's like you're like, all right, we're going to grid. And then all of a sudden you're by yourself and you're like, man, I have no idea where I'm at.
I'm alone.
I have no idea where anyone else.
Ian,
I don't have a phone.
I sent Jeremy that picture, and it's not that picture. I couldn't find it, but it's the picture of this deer when we found it.
Yeah. And so we come up on this knob.
There's no service up there either. Like, I think I was trying to call you guys.
You were,
like, nobody was, I don't know.
Well, and again, the progression, right? I'm hot on it, man. I'm hound dogging at this point. Alex is basically just coattailing me. Gary's, I have no idea. I thought we lost.
Which is a good lesson, man. Ultimately, you do need to stay on blood. If you have any blood at all, they'll fully. Almost every time that I've gotten off of blood, you have to end up going back to it and just find some clue of like that's which direction they headed. But yeah, here's buck once we end up getting them.
And so we come up to this top. Here, Ian, let me see if I can send this to you, because this is classic.
The video,
yeah, man. I think I have it. And so we come up to this top of this knob, and I remember it like clear as day. And there was more blood on the top of the knob. Like he had circled this knob essentially for...
Started opening up again.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably a mile from where you'd hit him at this point.
Dude, we're almost 2 at this point. I remember tracking it on Onyx. I think I still have that track laid down, but I mean, we're deep at this point.
Yep.
And so we're circling this knob.
You'll see this property itself. It's just a giant... it's mountains. It's just like endless woods, timber.
Right. Yeah,
we're just fumbling through it. And I don't know... I swear to you, I would have walked past that knob 3 or 4 times with it as much as I had walked, but apparently not.
Yeah, here, I got it.
As he'll tell you, then finding this deer.
Oh, okay, here, Ian, I'm sending you these videos. This would be cool to bring up. Let's go bring it up here in a second. So anyways, we'll bring these videos up because they're really cool. We circle up at this knob, and I remember Gary's over here.
You've got Gary and Alex with you. I'm the Lone Ranger.
Gary's basically saying at this point, he's like, hey man, I found blood, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on blood too. Alex is behind me, and like, I just feel like we're close at this point. Like you just have that feeling. I mean, we've tracked blood for 2 miles. Like this deer is dead somewhere, right? And so I remember looking. I was looking at Gary. And I'm like, hey, man, I think he went up by you and then came back down towards me, right? And so I told Alex, I was like, man, he's like, we're on this trail. Like, he's not far. And I look up, and that deer's bedded looking right at me, staring me in the face. And it's like, shit. Mm-hmm. And so you'll see
this. Probably just 20, 30 yards from you at that point.
Oh, dude. So you'll see in this video that we sent. The look on my face when so Alex has the camera with him, right? He's filming me. And so They're coming to you now, Ian. The look on my face was like, get the down, right? Like, don't you move. If you move, I will slice you. I will leave you here to die at this point.
He's like mom with kids in the car. He's like,
yeah. And Alex is just frozen. Gary's behind me yelling, I got blood. And I'm like, shut up. Like, he's right here.
No, I have blood.
And so, like, I'm freaking out. So I get down and I knock an arrow. So at this point, and this is what sucks, we've been tracking for so long. Number one, in the downfall of the rage, I had 2 arrows left with me, right? One of which I broke the collar on, so the blades are just like flopping.
Loosey-goosey.
Yeah, loosey-goosey. And I've got one good one.
Jeremy gets pretty heated in these situations. He's wearing like his glass. You don't wear contacts when you're hunting.
No, I wear glasses.
His glasses are all fucking up. He's like,
yeah. and so I knock an arrow, right? Oh, dude, look at this face. This is the face of it.
What? Gary, what?
Look, all right, so go ahead. So this is me getting all my stuff on, and it's like Gary, don't say a word.
Didn't have your release.
Yeah, I don't have my release. We've been walking for 2 miles, right? Trying to focus. I'm like, okay, this is the good arrow. This deer is 10 yards from us, bedded down, right? And I'm just freaking out. Now, here's the thing.
Look at the focus. Look at the focus.
Dude, I'm thinking just everything. I'm thinking at this point, I'm just going to stand up and put an arrow in him.
Look at the focus.
Dude, this deer jumps up, right? Watch. There goes this deer, jumps up, and I just sling one. Okay.
You hear it. I can hear it hit.
Okay, end clip, right? End clip. Okay, Alex is like, yeah, I filmed it, okay? And I'm thinking, in my head, I'm like, I just shot him in the ass. Like, I just put another arrow in him, right?
Yep.
So
you thought it was another, you thought it was a,
I thought it was Texas heart shot or something.
Yep.
Like, I slung it. So we go up, right? Arrows on the ground. Broadheads bent to hell, like, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what happened, right? So we start tracking. There's guts, there's lung just on every brush, right? And I look up over the hill, and this deer is laying at the bottom of the hill, 60 yards from where we just were. At this point, Jared comes back around.
Oh, you got this video?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I was up above you guys. We figured out here positive, maybe a few hundred yards, and you guys were texting me, or I called you. Yeah. I was like, hey, what's the deal? What's going on? You're like, dude, we jumped him. I put another arrow on him. I think it was like Texas heart shot. I think that was a fatal shot for sure if it wasn't already. I was like, okay, cool. Like, can I come down? And you're like, yeah, just really careful. Circle out around us. So I did. I could see you guys in the distance there, and I just circled out and around you. And you were still not at this point.
No, we were sitting up above watching him.
Just because you could see him down below.
He was kicking. He was trying to get up. And I'm like, he's dying.
Eventually I snuck all the way in with you guys, and we sat there for another 15 minutes, just like waiting to see what he was going to do.
And he stopped moving. Yeah. So now this is the approach. And this is funny, man. So number one, I've got this flimsy rage and knocked up, right? Jared has a knife in his hand, which I'm not sure at this point if he's going to put me down or the deer down.
You're like, where'd you get the knife?
2 miles.
And so this is the end of a 2-mile track on this thing, and you'll see it. Like at this point, I don't know. Like this deer could jump up again, right in our face. So what's Jared's approach to me? I'm like, oh, he's giving me room, right? Wait, oh, here comes sneak approach, and dead.
We got him.
2 miles. Okay, now here's the hilarious part of this.
You know what, though? I learned I have that knife in my hand for a reason. I've had to use it before.
Yeah.
What a monster.
Dude, I hit that deer. We call this the Achilles buck. My second shot, literally, and you'll see it in this video, cut his hoof. That's where I hit him.
Well, that's what we started doing here, because
we were like, where did I hit?
I was pretty confident that you guys hit him.
Like, in the bottom.
Look at the neck of this thing. I mean, this thing was a monster. Like that neck was like cutting off circulation to his brain at this point. But like, yeah, it was like, okay, cool. Like, where did you hit him, man? Like, how's this thing done? I mean, we're talking 7 or 8 year old mountain buck at this point. This deer is.
This is where I'm like, what happened to his
what happened to his
leg
hoof right here? Like, I'm like, oh, that's weird.
It's all the way down by the hoof.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so here's
the very bottom.
Yeah, look where I'm.
Like literally right on his like hoof.
Yeah,
like cut that side, and you'll see. We'll flip him over. The shot was perfect. What happened was that steep angle. Talk about angles. Was a single lung, right? His lung. See, watch here. We're turning him over. The pause right there. Oh, that's it. His lung was hanging out of his body. But the other lung was intact. That deer went 2 miles with a lung hanging out of his body, right? And what happened was
alive. Like 12 hours later?
Yeah. When we got him up and ran him, we gave him a heart attack. That deer didn't die from a second shot. It was that we basically pushed him into cardiac arrest to expire him. You know, and who knows how long he would have sat there and lived with a single lung. I mean, so talk about the toughness
you could have
of these
recovered
animals.
with that? You think he would have lived?
No way. I mean, there was a 4-inch gash on that
anyways.
side.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and he probably would have died in another 24 hours or something because, I mean, he had lost so much blood.
Yeah, and the coyotes probably would have chased him dead anyway.
Exactly. Like whatever got him on his feet just so happened it was us to push him on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's like, dude, bow hunting is not for the faint-hearted.
Take me on down the river where the guilt can't find